National Cabinet agreed to 4 components to address the energy crisis yesterday. Joining me live is Lynne Gallagher, CEO of Energy Consumers Australia. How are you this morning, Lynne? And thank you so much for your time.
Morning, Janie.
So Parliament will be recalled next week, but there's still many more questions that need to be answered. You're welcoming this announcement, but can you run us through some of the main points that we heard yesterday?
Well, the 2 key things in this package, Janie, are the price caps on coal and the price caps on gas, which are temporary, 12 months. They're going to bring down the prices of, they're going to bring down retail electricity and gas prices. Sorry, it's Saturday morning. And the other key component is a direct credit of the bills being paid by small business and by eligible households. So those 2 things together are actually going to bring welcome relief to many Australian families and small businesses.
All right, so it comes into effect in terms of the payments, I believe, sort of around Easter of next year. What is going to happen, do you think, after, the 12-month cap? What are we looking at down the track after this?
I think the thing to do is to be clear about how this all plays out over time. So people have already had big electricity and gas price increases this year, and they should expect no more increases in electricity prices. But this package has its biggest effect in the next financial year. So what it looks like is perhaps 4% further increase in gas prices next financial year. That's on top of 18% this year. And for electricity, the impact is 23% increase in electricity prices in 23-24 on top of 20% this year. Those are big numbers. Those are still big increases overall, but they are far, far better than what was predicted at budget time.
So we have states, for example, in Queensland that get some rebates of around $250 for the year. We're going to see, this spread out to states and territories. I mean, we know WA, for example, have a different sort of system to what the East has. How is it all going to be divvied out? I know next week, they're going to be recalled and there's going to be more detail. But what else do we need to know, and what do you want to know?
Look, the good design feature of this is it's $1.5 billion of Commonwealth money, which is going to match state and territory money, and it's actually using existing state schemes and delivery channels. They are going to have to figure out how to do this for small business, because currently most of that assistance doesn't come through for small business, but does come through for people in receipt of Commonwealth benefits or family tax benefit A and B and veterans. So it works with the existing schemes. The complicating factor is they're also going to figure out, and we don't know at this point, exactly how much they're going to give to each household and each small business. But it appears that what they're trying to do is make the amount that comes off your bill really relevant, appropriate, proportionate to the kind of price increases in each state. Around the country, we're seeing different rates of price increase in both electricity and gas. So the idea is to try and make sure, rather than say everybody gets $200 or, dare I use the $275, rather than say that, it may mean in some states people could get a bigger amount than that, and in other states and territories where the price increases are not so large, we will get smaller amounts off bills. But the other welcome thing is it is really designed to go to the people below household income of $100,000 a year. And we know it's those households who are doing it much tougher than people who have family income above $100,000 a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's talk as well that they're trying to get more gas supply to the east to drive down prices. Would you agree there's an issue of supply? I mean, Australia is one of the biggest gas producers in the world. Coal, for example, one of the largest producers and second largest exporter of coal in the world.
Yeah, I think there's a whole discussion about supply that's been brought into this, which always gets brought up when we're talking about, prices. But these prices are driven by global conditions, not domestic supply conditions. According to the the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, we have enough uncontracted gas supply available to be used in electricity generation in the eastern states. And so what we're really, what the package is focused on is making sure that the prices that are paid for that gas, which is available and currently not contracted for export or for anyone else, are actually being paid at the prices that existed before the war in Ukraine. So everyone's still going to make profits. Everyone's cost of production hasn't gone up. The supply is available. There are going to be tight supply conditions, and going forward and over the next couple of years, because again, we're a big gas exporter and we don't have a reservation policy in Eastern Australia where we do in the West. But it looks like we will have enough supply. It's now about making sure that the price of coal and gas used in electricity generation is not at these inflated world prices, but the prices people were getting paid for coal and gas before the war in Ukraine.
I know you've welcomed this. Do you think it's better than doing a windfall profit tax like they're doing in the UK? And if so, why?
It's far, far better. We have all seen industry and governments this week pushing back or appearing to push back, according to the newspapers, on a windfall profit tax. They all have royalties. We have a company tax. We have a petroleum resource rent tax. So, in fact, trying to measure what a windfall is, getting the data, figuring out how to, what rate should be set, what should it be levied on, would have been incredibly complicated. The unintended consequences of trying to do it as a windfall profit tax would have just taken so much longer to work through. This way, it's a very simple proposition. It does require legislation in some states. Queensland Minister can direct companies in his state. All they're doing is saying for 12 months, the prices that are paid are the prices very similar, very, very similar to the levels before the war in Ukraine. And so it's a much simpler mechanism. It can come in time. If we don't get these caps in, then what we would be facing is the kind of price increases that we're predicting in the budget, which are far, far higher than what we're looking at with these measures in place. So we've got, it's good to see that parliaments are being recalled. It's the quickest way to make sure we get electricity and gas prices not at the kind of levels that we're expecting.
And it looks like they've all really, joined together and come as one, haven't they?
Exactly right. I mean, everyone talks about never getting between a premier and a bucket of money is the sort of favourite phrase, and it would have just been much harder interfering with royalties. This way, everyone takes, I've heard the phrase used by a couple of ministers this week, everyone takes a cut, everyone takes a haircut. No one's any worse off than anyone else. But also, I think you might have heard a number of ministers, talk about Team Australia. So it's great to see in this area that ministers, no matter their political ideology, political persuasion from around the country, are working collectively to get the outcomes for Australians that they deserve.
Sounds like we need plenty more of Team Australia. Always great to see you, Lynne Gallagher, CEO of Energy Consumers Australia. Thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Thanks, Janie.